Okay, hello everyone. Thank you all for being here today. Let's begin now with the webinar. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for being here today and mention that we are recording the session so that those who were not able to attend the webinar will be able to watch it in the future. So, my name is Borja Guillén. I am the account manager of the solutions department in Innova. And the objective of this session is to introduce our suite InTools, show its functionality through a demo, and explain our site in online, stating why it's essential when setting up and managing our solution. So the agenda we're going to cover is an InTools introduction. We're going to explain the solutions which are included in this InTools suite, which are in Translate, in Data Manager, and in Apps Analyzer. So we are going to give a brief explanation of these three solutions. And once we have done that, we will proceed with the demo for each of these solutions. At the end of the session, we will just give some space, some time for you to ask any question or doubt you may have about the solutions or any other aspect of the webinar. But now, let's provide a brief introduction of our company. Innova is one of the few Microsoft ISV development centers worldwide, and it's the only one speaking Spanish. We provide services for both finance operations and Business Central, including our own solutions, which are supported by these ERPs. Our headquarters are established in Castellón, Spain, and our team is formed by more than 50 professionals with over 17 years of experience. So, as aforementioned, we offer our own solutions, which are divided into suites. One of them is the suite eSign, whose main feature is the digital signature. Within this suite, we may find eSign Facturae, available for both Business Central and Finance Operations, and this solution is able to generate and sign digital invoices. On the other hand, we may find eSign ePDF, which is available for Business Central. This solution is able to digitally sign any PDF file. Nonetheless, these solutions will be deeply explained in another webinar. On the other hand, the suite InTools, which includes, as I have said, in Translate, in Data Manager, and in Apps Analyzer. In today's session, we want to introduce all these solutions. Hence, the structure to follow is an explanation of the solution, and right after we will proceed with a demo for each of them. So let's focus now on the explanation of the solution. As you may know, InTranslate is able to easily create XLF files in any language available. It also provides a fluent maintenance and an update of the translations and process an automated service of translations. On the other hand, in Data Manager, modifies or deletes system records. With this solution, the user will be able to make any modification or reversion of modification, or also elimination or reversion of deletion of the records. You can do all these modifications in a controlled way. Finally, in Apps Analyzer is a solution that allows you to analyze in detail the objects of the system extensions. Also, it is possible to check which objects are used in extensions and which ones are free. You can also check the free gaps and if you have informed the ranges of your extensions. Furthermore, with the Check Ranges tool, you can check if a range enters or may conflict with objects or ranges of other extensions within your system. Besides, now you can benefit from our new promotion, in which you will be able to acquire all the aforementioned solutions by only 85 euros per month. This bundle includes the standard plan for in Data Manager, which includes the unlimited usages up to 30 tenants per year, the entire in-Apps Analyzer usage, and also the plan 40 for InTranslate, which includes 40,000 lines per month. it's important to mention that this new promotion is only available until the end of the year, okay? So now, let's show you now our website in online, which is crucial when setting up and managing the solutions. So in the main visual interface of the site, you may find all the solutions provided by our company. If we go into each solution, let's go into Translate, for example. The web page will display an introduction and a thorough tutorial of that solution. Also, the user will be able to analyze the different plans available for this solution. Okay, so it's important to mention that all our solutions can be downloaded at Microsoft's Marketplace App Stores, and only by registering our site you will be able to utilize them. So now we're going to log in with a real account for you to check what can you expect when signing up in our site. Okay, this is our demo account. So this here, that's the customer ID, and it's essential since afterwards we will have to introduce it in the setup wizard. Also, in this visual interface, we can check which solution we have available in our user, and we go into each solution again. Let's go into Translate. Let me switch the language. You can do that right here. We may find the higher plan and the recommended plan according to the usage of the solution. We also have some lines for some information of the lines, and we can find a link to download them through App Stores. So, okay, let me check if it's everything okay. All right. So now let's proceed with the demo of Translate. Now we are in our Business Central environment. So regarding Translate, in previous versions of Navision, we had to use Caption ML to do the translations in different languages. But in this updated version, the translations are done using a XLib file. So therefore, now through a XLib file generated by the system, if we wanted to do a translation in different systems, we should create these files each time with a different language. Our solution is able to do exactly this, but in a simple way. So through the same original file, we will be able to generate the translated ones. So once we have downloaded our solution from App Stores and we have signed up in our site, the user will have its customer ID, which is going to be necessary when setting up the solution. Thus, the first thing to work on is the configuration of the application. So in this configuration menu, okay, we can go to the setup first. We have the Innova Online setup. We have to do this only once, and we only have to introduce the customer ID. And then we have the assisted setup, which is individual for every solution. Let's go into Translate. In this case, we have already completed it, but just to show you. And again, we only have to introduce the customer ID. And once we have done that, we will need to set up the languages we are going to use. So in this visual interface, the user is able to check the languages that are already set up in the solution. We will only need to introduce the ISO code accordingly to the language we want to utilize. In this case, we're going to utilize English, Spanish, and Italian. So once this configuration is completed, we can start to do the translations. But how does this work? When we own our solution, a XLF file is produced, which is composed by several nodes. These nodes are referencing all the captions, tooltips, or labels of the solution. Therefore, through these captions, tooltips, and labels, a XLib file is created. If we want to do the translations of this, theoretically, we should copy this file, generate a new one, and modify its target, adding a new node to do these translations. So our solution in Translate can do all this process automatically. So The first step is to get into the translations, where I start here, translate. And 7 actions will be displayed. Among these actions, update captions, load translation file, translate captions, and create translation file should be highlighted since they are quite important. We're going to see that in a while. So let's imagine now that we want to generate a translation file for one of our solutions. We don't have a translation done yet, hence we're going to use the update captions tool. This tool is going to ask for the language in which we want to do the translation. Okay, for example, let me choose Spanish here. And now it's going to ask for the base translation file. Okay. This base translation file is the one that the system is going to automatically generate, and once it's imported, it will create some lines in which we can start to function. All right. So the information to be found in this section is the nodes, language, caption, and also the caption ML. In this latter part, we will add the translations from which the translation file will be generated. To make a demonstration, I'm going to fill in the translation in these gaps. Okay, Spanish real quick. Okay. So we are ready now to create the translation file using the functionality create translation file right here. The system will inform us that the file is going to be created, and we will have again to indicate the language, Spanish. And after that, we will have to import the base translation file, since from this one, the additional translation files will be generated. Okay. Yes. Okay. So once the file is created, the system will suggest a name according to the solution and its language. In this case, I'm going to save it here. So the name of the solution in this case is All Project Test, and the language Spanish. Save it. Now, if we go to our application, we can check that a new translation file with a different target has been generated. This new file includes the original target and the target and the new translated one, which is what we needed in order to generate our translation file. Okay, let me just remove this. So I'm going to show you a new modality, a new functionality. Okay. So another functionality is say we already have a solution with its translations, as for example in this case, but we want to do some modifications. Instead of doing them manually in our application, we can load the translation file here. Okay. So basically, when loading it, the system is claiming that if we have any data, it will be erased. So once again, we have to indicate the language. And in this case, we have to import the translated file, okay, not the base one. This one. So now that the file is loaded, if we want to do any modification, we can do something like this, okay, something visual. And now it is necessary to generate a new translation file. We're going to do that. Indicating again the language code, Spanish. This time we have to import again the base translation file. As I have said, from this base translation file, the translated files will be created. That's why. Okay, let's select this one. Okay, now let's save it. And if we go now to our application, we can see that the changes have been saved. All right. Okay, again, I'm going to remove this. So another modality available is, for example, if we want to select a different language of the formation. The process to follow would be quite similar. I mean, we don't have the translation done for any other language. What we want is to use a completely new language. Therefore, we can use the Update Captions tool. So we will have to select the new language, say Italian in this case, for example. And we import the base translation file. Again, the base one. So once this is done, the system will create a new lines for the Italian version. It is necessary that we fulfill these new translations. So through the Actions menu, we will find a functionality that can translate them automatically, which is Translate Captions. So now it's necessary to introduce the language, Italian again, and the name of the solution, right here. So now those lines that are untranslated will be translated accordingly to this translating system. So the translations have already been done, and now we can generate the translated file in Italian. So create translation file. We have to indicate the language code, Italian. And select the base translation file. Again. Okay. Now we can save it with the suggested name, like this. And if we go now to our application, we can see that the file has been created with the proper translations in Italian right here. Okay. So let's go back. So in the Role Center interface, a detailed information about the usage is displayed. For example, the lines we have in our solutions, whether they are translated or not, and in which solutions these translations are included. So clicking in solutions, we can get into the lines that are translated and also the ones that are not translated. For example, these ones. These are the lines we have just created. Besides, in info translations, we'll be able to select specific lines that should not be translated, text some developers kind of comments, and also specify the amount of characters to utilize in a translation. So overall, that's mainly what InTranslate is able to do. Now we're going to switch to Data Manager to proceed with the demo of the solution. Okay. Let me just change. Let me drink water. Okay. Let's switch to Data Manager. And it's okay. So, oops, I think, okay, it's not done yet. As aforementioned, in Data Manager allows the user to do exactly the same as Object Designer used to do. If we need to change any information in a table, since it was not possible to do that from our system, we had to use Object Designer and create a new process to do this work for us. For this scenario, we have created a new solution that, in a simple way, it allows the user to do these modifications or deletions of records. This solution is mainly aimed at developers, since if there's any modification or deletion to do of any system record, we must know exactly what we have to do. So likewise, in translate, we will need a customer ID, which can be obtained in our portal and online, in order to properly utilize the solution. For security reasons, this ID must be introduced in every modification or deletion we do. So in the role center, we will find the changes templates and the deletions templates. In this case, we will start with the changes templates. The 4 first templates that we are showing right now, they are predetermined by our solution. To do, for example, a modification of a sales invoice, for instance. But for this demo, we have created an additional template to modify the information of a customer. But again, you can create as many templates as you want. So, in order to get into it, we'll go to the tables setting. In this interface, we can configure the tables, filters, and fields we want to modify. In this case, for example, I want to modify the customer number 10,000, and I want to see or modify the name or the number. So now we go to the changes matrix right here and load data to modify. Now displayed, we can see the data we have filtered to be modified, and we can do some modifications. For example, like this. And now we can save this modification. But in order to confirm this modification, we need to introduce the customer ID. Okay, like this. And now we're going to check that the change has been completed. Okay, let's go into customers here. And as you can see, the name of the customer has been modified. But now, if you want to reverse that modification because maybe it has been a mistake or there's something wrong with it, we can go to changes executed, and the last one, which is the most updated change in actions, revert changes. Again, it will ask for the customer ID as a confirmation. Okay, let's proceed. And if we go now to our customers, we can see that the changes have been reverted. Now the name is the original one. Okay. So for the deletions template, we're going to use the same template as we have used in the modifications, but this time we want to delete a customer instead of modifying any information from it. So in this case, we only have to input the table we want to delete and the filters. If we don't filter it, in this case, the solution would display a list of all our customers. That's why we need to be very careful within Data Manager. In this case, we're going to filter, again, the same customer. Okay, let's go to the deletions matrix. Now, load data to modify, to delete in this case, and it will display the information we have previously configured. Okay, we can check the information. And now, we can delete the records from the system. And again, it will ask for the customer ID. Okay. Now, if we go to check our customers list, we can see that the client that we have previously filtered and deleted is not there anymore. You remember, it's the customer with number 10,000. But now, we are going to revert that deletion. To do so, we have to go to the deletions executed here. select the last one on the list, since again, that's the updated deletion, and revert deletions. Once more, we have to introduce the customer ID. Okay. Now we can check our list. The customer is back in our list. Okay. So that's it regarding in Data Manager. Let's proceed with the last demo of the webinar, which is in Apps Analyzer. Okay, let's switch into in Apps Analyzer. That's okay. Let's proceed. Okay, so once this profile for in Apps Analyzer is established, it will show some kind of details. In this case, the amount of extensions, ranges, and objects we have in our system. An important function is that in this interface, we can check the amount of objects that are being used in the range 50,000. Okay, we're going to see that afterwards. Besides, in this work area, we can get into the setup menu, which shows the necessary configurations for the solution. And also we will have to, as aforementioned, to introduce the customer ID. Okay, let's go to it. It's an apps analyzer here. And we only need to introduce the customer ID. Again, this ID can be found in our web page in online. Okay. So the first thing we are going to cover is the extensions menu right here. In this field, the system is going to show all the extensions that we have already set up. In this case, the base applications and system applications right here, they are predetermined in each solution by Microsoft. But we can also see the names of its extension, its version, the publisher, and a check indicating if it's installed or not. So let's go into, for example, in Apps Analyzer. And one of the functionalities is to add ranges, which is going to be explained in detail in a minute. And through related, we can have access to the dependencies used in each extension. As you can see, this extension is using the dependency of system application and base applications, which are predetermined by Microsoft. This one, which is named Innova Online, it's a solution that we use internally to create a connectivity with our website. So another tool is to check a list of all the objects included in each extension. Okay, and then we can see the fields such as type of object, object subtype, ID, name, its caption, and also the name of the extension containing all these objects. But another method to check the objects in detail is the one called show object detail. In this case, we can observe all the objects we have, but divided in type of objects. And in these columns, we can check the objects that are being used and the gaps we have free. So it's really useful to know the gaps we have free in case we need to develop or use any object. It's interesting to know if we have any gaps free to use. So the field free object deals with the ranges, which are going to be explained afterwards. Okay. So in order to show you the functionality of the free gaps, I'm going to get into an extension that I know it has some free gaps. For example, in Translate. Okay. So object detail. And in this case, we can see that the object, for example, table, has 6 used objects, but we have one which is free. If we go into this one, we can see that the object which is free is this one ending in 29. So if we had to develop a table for this solution by doing this, we would discover that the name and what the object ending in 29 is available, and we could operate on this. So this can be really helpful when we have a lot of ranges or many objects in our system. So now let's check the set ranges too. Okay, let's go back to Innova Analyzer. So in this case, we have already established the ranges of this solution, which goes from this number to this number. If we go now to check the objects detail, okay, related, so objects detail, we can observe the objects that are currently free. So it's useful to know this information, because if we take now the type of object page, we can see that 12 objects are being used, but there are 988 which are free. If we click on the objects that are free, the system is going to show from lowest to highest all the objects that we can utilize, which is also quite useful when introducing new objects. So this is it regarding the information about extensions. But if our idea right now is, say, to start a new solution, one of the hardest things to decide on is the range of objects to use, and especially which objects can I use in range 50,000. So since Object Designer is not available anymore, we can't be informed about the objects that are being used. Logically, we're willing to use this range 50,000 to develop our new extension, but most likely it's going to be in use. So for this scenario, we have created the check ranges tool. We just have to input the initial range and the final one. For example, I'm going to cover all the range. Okay. And the system will display the objects, extensions, and range extensions that are being already used within this range. In this case, the system is informing us that there are no objects, nor extensions, nor ranges extensions that are in range or in conflict within this range. That's because this company we're using, this environment, is completely brand new, and we barely have operating it. But if you check the ranges in your system, probably there will be some objects or some extensions which are in conflict within this range. Okay, so all in all, this is what the solution can offer you. It may be really useful for developers since Object Designer is not available anymore, and this extension simplifies the task of checking the objects in our system extensions. So that's all of it regarding the demo of our in-tools in Translate, in Data Manager, and in Apps Analyzer. And now we are going to proceed with your questions. We are going to give you some time for you to forward your questions. And in the meantime, I would like to remind you that this promotion to get the whole bundle with our in-tools will only be available until the end of the year. So now I'm going to give you a couple of minutes for you to forward your questions. So someone's asking, how can I get this extension? I understand that you mean in Apps Analyzer. In any case, for Translate, in Apps Analyzer or in Data Manager, they are available in Microsoft's Marketplace App Stores, and you can download them. So I hope that's what you meant. Let me tell you that if you have any other question, you can always send me an email. You have the information right here, which is bguillen@innovaconsulting.es. And if you have any other inquiry, you can just send me an email, and I will gladly aid you in any of your inquiries. Okay, if you don't have any other question, you can finish the session. We hope you find the webinar useful, and we are looking forward to hearing from you soon. Again, thank you very much, and see you next time.